Hello friends, it's Tanya from Tinkering and Ink with Tanya, and I am going to do a Galaxy Star or Galaxy card this time. And this is the Wacky Holidays of the Month kit from Kindred Stamps, and a Galaxy fancy frame, the marbled Turnabout, and an old marbled background stamp. This is white satin pearl. So you can use a couple of, and some paper from one of the past Kindred Stamps boxes. I haven't used it. This is the first time I've used that paper. So that black and white galaxy was the inspiration for this card. I was actually digging through my stuff looking for something else. I die cut that galaxy with the Milky Way Fancy Frames die from Hero Arts. Now I'm going to use the marbled Turnabout from Concord and 9th on some 110-pound Nina Solar white paper. I did use my anti-static powder bag on this before I started stamping with Versamark, and I am going to do 4 full turns, every single turn with Versamark. I'm not changing the colors at all. And then we're going to heat emboss this with the white satin pearl embossing powder from Hero Arts. You would think that doing 4 turns with the Turnabout would make it just kind of a muddled mess, but it doesn't. It just creates this wonderful texture, galaxy texture in the background, and it's a swirling, kind of that galaxy swirling black hole, whatever you want to call it, prettiness. And it's pretty simple to do. Even if you did mess it up a little bit, it's in the background, so it wouldn't really show that much. So I heat set that, and you can see that white satin pearl with its shiny. This is one of my favorite embossing powders. I keep finding new uses for it. So then the central swirl of that, I want it to be a little off center. So I'm using the oval die that comes with the Milky Way fancy frame die to line that up, and I'm going to create the background that goes behind the Milky Way frame. Die cut that quick. I used some washi. My Stampin' Desk is actually a great big china cabinet hutch that I found really cheap at Goodwill, believe it or not. And there's a mirror facing me. And I keep bits and pieces of washi tape stuck there for me to use over and over. So I put some Ultra Bond glue all over the back of this. I'm not going to make you watch me put the glue on the entire thing. And then I adhere that to the white heat embossed, white satin pearl heat embossed galaxy background. So we've got galaxy on galaxy here, and I'm using a heavy block to just make sure that stays super flat. So now we're going to stamp the alien and spaceship with some Memento black ink. And I just re-inked my ink pad. Holy cow, I've needed to do that for a while because I have been having to double stamp everything. But once, that's all it took. Sometimes ink pad maintenance gets forgotten. So I'm going to color this alien with some YGs. Here I've got them listed in the corner. And I went with the darkest 2. That would be the YG17 is what I'm using now. And then this one is the YG25. So the darkest 2 I'm using for the eyes. And I maybe should have gone with gray, but I kind of like the green. He makes them look a little friendlier, I think. So then this, I started with the YG03 and did the shadows for the body. And I could have stuck with that. The YG21 is pretty yellow. You're going to see that here in a minute. And I'll fill that all in. Excuse me. I'm recording this over 4th of July weekend, so Independence Day is one of those movies that sucks me in every single time. So World UFO Day, that's kind of appropriate for us. I actually haven't watched that movie this time, this time of year. Usually I do. I might have to do that later. We'll see. Anyway, I decided to come back with some YG25 and add a little more darkness and then come back with the YG21 to smooth it all out. Will Smith does an awesome job with that movie. I think that was the first movie that I really watched Will Smith. Boy, I got off track. What are your favorite alien movies? I know there's a new Men in Black, International, which I haven't even watched reviews for. But this would, for those that are fans of that movie or that series, this would be a good card. So I'm using two different sets of grays. I've got the warm grays and the cool grays. And sometimes it's good to mix those two. Someone I watched, I can't remember who it was, if it was Marsha Carandita. I'll have to look. Someone on the Kindred Stamps design team with me had been talking about how it was good to mix the warm and the cool grays, especially if you're using it on a creature, to add some contrast. For the reds and the blues, I just literally reached in and grabbed a couple of mid-tones for each of those. I did not put any deep thought into it at all. And you can see which markers I used on each one there. And when I pulled the cap off of the lighter red, it spattered. Sometimes that happens when there's too much ink in one end or the other, and then you need to take both ends off for just a minute and let that redistribute itself. But I went back with I believe it was the COO, and pushed that red back. You can still see it a little bit, but it's okay. It'll be fine. Then I went over everything with the clear wink of Stella. And if you're going to use any gel pens with your images and the clear wink of Stella, you want to put the wink of Stella on first because it kind of dissolves your gel pen ink. Not what you're going for, I promise. And I'm messing around with placement after I fussy cut these guys. I decided I didn't want that little planet showing, so I'm going to put the spaceship over the top of that. And I like how that little die cut star is right above the spaceship. If you've been watching me for very long, you know that I like to use chipboard to do all of my popping up. Yes, it might seem like it takes a lot of extra effort, but it really doesn't. And the thought that it's completely recyclable and more flat and easier to mail things is a big plus for me. So I'm trimming down some chipboard and gluing it to the back, and again using my heavy block to keep everything nice and flat. Another bonus of using chipboard is that it's die cuttable. So if you had dies for these images, you'd be able to die cut exactly the same shape and glue those together, and it's so nice to have that stability. Here I am gluing. This is a full 4x4 coaster behind this embossed black cardstock panel, and that is a retired Stampin' Up! Embossing folder, but Kaisercraft has a very similar embossing folder called Constellation that you can still get. In fact, I think it's on sale right now at scrapbook.com for $3. The link is in the description below. So then I glued the embossed panel to the card base, which happens to be a soft stone from Paper Tray Ink. Then I had die cut a chipboard, or excuse me, a coaster oval and glued that behind. And now I'm going to glue our little critters, well, our little alien and his spaceship. I'm going to glue those down. And believe it or not, I had not planned what sentiments I wanted on this. I had to go dig through my stash and figure out what I wanted to use. And you know what? I ended up just using sentiments from the stamp set. There we go again. We're going to emboss with white embossing powder on here. It's going to say, have a happy birthday, Earthling. Or just happy birthday, Earthling. Sorry. This is Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder. Got my heat gun nice and hot. This is sped up at double speed, so it did take just a smidgen longer. More chipboard, excuse me, I keep calling it chipboard, coaster. It's super affordable. You get a box of 1,000 4x4 coasters for like, I think it's $38 delivered to your door. It's about the same cost as a giant Big Mama roll of foam tape, to be honest. I did trim these down a little bit. I used a sentiment die. I think it's a, is it Mama Elephant sentiment die? And then I took, okay, this is another limited edition stamp from Kindred Stamps. This is the Space Heroes from one of their boxes. You have to just watch for the boxes. When they announce them, they have a pre-order, and then that's your only opportunity to get them. I've loved every single box. I believe the paper that we used, or the cardstock, no, sorry, the pattern paper we used for the oval, Milky Way Galaxy oval, came from that same box. I'm using a little weathered wood Distress Oxide ink here to stamp the UFO in there, and the sentiment was stamped with VersaFine Onyx Black. I did make that black panel just a smidgen smaller than the card base. And I hope you like this card. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Check out my blog. It'll have more still photos. Check out the list of links in the description below, and come back soon. Bye-bye.